Good evening and welcome everyone here to GTRC WTCC Round 2 of Season 9. Watkins, Glen, short is the layout. Expecting an almost full grid again, what is good to see. Even if we had a bit of chaos with the check-ins. There's Will. Good evening, Will.
Good evening. How are we doing?
We're doing good so far.
Good, good.
Even if I don't expect any one of our guys showing up, at least in race 1.
Oh really? Not even Ruben?
He's not online yet and I cannot reach him, so...
Ooh. I got a message from Packer saying he wasn't able to, so...
Yeah, he slept. So maybe he's doing race 2, but... Well... This definitely keeps the championship open a bit if there's 2 Lexus are missing on the top speed track. But also, I think... Is Hamza here? Currently just see Davison. We also have kind of a little lineup change, as usually Van Hart is supposed to be Team Spirit driver, but he's now in as a privateer, and Witchell is in the second Team Spirit car.
Yeah, very confusing ordeal to have to deal with, but I think in the end...
The day is super confusing. Whatever they do, it is...
There's always one team that has to make things a bit difficult for me. Where's everyone?
So we have one FR racing car with Davison currently. We have both Team Spirit cars. We have Ashby in the Lexus for the privateers. We have Seb Mills as a Nexus reserve. I think the second Nexus reserve is supposed to be Ricky, who might show up in race 2. We have Aston Lewis in the Scirocco as a privateer. Van Hart in the Hyundai Genesis as a privateer. Also Tom Holland in the Swift. And Kubinski, the second Team Spirit car. So there's currently missing both Phantom S cars, both Helix cars, 1 FR, both CPTL cars. Yeah, so I think any discussion about how many privateers are in this league are gone now, should be gone now.
Yep. Honestly. So that means we've got 6 people who've said they're racing and are not here, which is a bit of a pain.
I can apologize for the Helix guys, because the notification that Pekka won't be able to race 1 at least, I got at 8 minutes before the lobby opened. And from Ruben I have no notification. Holland is really quick. But they might
So
guys like Witchell. Oh no, Witchell. Yeah, but fastest lap is from Witchell.
Ah.
A lot of guys are in the pits. I currently can't see it. I can see what Lewis said. Lewis' fastest lap was 13.6. Holland is half a second ahead. Oh yeah, about half a second behind Witchell. Really expecting Witchell to be quick here, because the Hyundai is a car with a good top speed. Witchell is a good driver, so definitely one of the guys to watch.
For sure. I think maybe the Lexus as well is quick in a straight line, so we might see Ashby do well.
Yes. However, he picked up 6 seconds penalty. Maybe he went for fresh tires. Pit entry, pit exit. Yeah, pit entry will be really interesting here.
It is quite a tough one. I remember when we raced here a couple of seasons ago, I managed to sort of not get a penalty, but you do have to stick quite far to the right, and you have to take it very slowly as well.
Yes, definitely. And you really have to be careful that no one is behind you. So let's see, I think Holland is the first one on track. Yes. I think first time we have the short layout.
Yes, it is, yes.
Not even in the Silvias or Alphas.
Maybe we'd spice things up a little bit with the short layout. It might help the front wheel drive kind of skeep up a little bit.
The Swift top speed 225 kilometers per hour. Yeah, almost 235 for the Lexus.
Very good difference.
But yeah, Interlagos was also a high-speed track. Of course, Sector 2 is way more technical than what we have here.
I think Interlagos is quite balanced, wasn't it?
Yes, but Sector 1 and Sector 3, okay, Sector 1 and Sector 3 is technically 2 straights, and then Holland a bit wide here.
Mitchell as well. Just look at the guys behind. Seems to be a slipstream train at the moment.
Witchell is not the worst slipstream you can get. The TT seems to be really quick here as well. So yes, Holland will be the first one to set a time.
Let's see what the benchmark is. Comes up final corner.
113.
113.8. 112.8 from Witchell.
And this one also 112.8 from Davison in the BMW.
Chica struggling there with a
114.
Almost 1.5 seconds behind.
With 113.8. Both privateers showed great performance last week at Interlagos. Davison purple here. But he's really close to Van Aert.
He's going to get caught up behind the two Genesis. Van Aert lets him past. He's 2/10 purple.
Still 2/10 purple.
Brexit as well, he's going to get more of a slipstream.
Which will improve to a 12.7.
12.6.
Kubinski currently P3. in the second TT, so currently pretty good result for the Team Spirit guys. Ashby improved to 13.8, but still a bit slower than we expected, the Lexus. Van Hart currently at P4, so the next Team Spirit driver.
Holland run very well.
Brilliant drift. P4 to P7, really close together. They're at 10th. Let's see if Richard can improve again. I think the fastest times we will see at the end of the qualifying, but Witchell now purple.
With a 12.5.
Van Hart jumped Kubinski.
Doesn't look like Kubinski's going to be able to set another time this time round. There's going to be another lap because he takes a penalty on the back straight.
Aston Lewis improving 5/10. Now ahead of Ashby on P5. Mills also on a personal best at the moment.
Oh, 7 Mills running very wide there.
So there's a chance that we might get Serrayo to race. He's now doing the software update. So might be one Lexus at the back of the grid.
Tom Holland personal best. What does that put him? P6. Still a second behind Jake.
Lewis on a penalty, getting fresh tires.
Kubinski takes P3 with a 12.6.
The Audi seems to be really strong here.
No surprise why Team Spirit kicked up such fuss about putting Jake in the second TT then.
Yeah, the top three separated by a 10th. Then a little gap to Van Hart. Lewis now on P5. .5 second penalty. So won't be improvement. Now the top two getting fresh tires. Whatever Holland did on this lap, it was not fast.
I'll go on board with Ashby and see how he does. He seems to be struggling down in P7, which is quite a surprise considering how well he did last week.
Yes, and a track that should fit the car. Okay, but there are guys that are more racers than qualifiers.
Points are always scored in the race, never in qualifying, and I think that's where Ashby's biggest problem lies. That chicane.
Yeah, the bus
He's
stop.
very hesitant on entry, and as a result, doesn't help him on exit either.
But even in Sector 1 he was just improving by 200th. Now he's a 10th behind his PB. Witchell on a penalty.
Looks like he's going into the pits.
I think he was. Tires are fresh. Fuel is still good for maybe 2 laps.
Oh, Aston Lewis with a big one there. The bus
Oh,
stop
yes.
into the wall.
Was on Van Aert and just heard screaming tires. So which are now on perfect conditions, fresh tires, clean track and low fuel.
Tenth down. Yeah, he's already bottled this lap.
Let's see if Davison is improving. Also 10th down. Lucas Wake is now there. So at least one Phantom S car. Tom Holland improved to a 13.5. Stays on P6. Also
Sorreo as well. So makes it 10 cars on the grid.
Oh, and Kubinski on a 1.5 second penalty.
It's a shame as well. He was on a personal best there.
Yeah.
Would have put him P2. Definitely would have put P2, I think, looking at it, but again with that penalty it's not going to help him. That's two laps down
Aston
the
Lewis
line.
now on P4. Jumped Stein van Aert. Also showed that he's able to get in contact with the top three. These three guys seemed before to be a bit ahead of the rest of the grid.
Just looking on board with Ashby, he's half a second up on himself with brand new boots on the car. They're going into the final corner. Can he better his time?
Could bring him into the top 5. P6.
Still an improvement.
Yes, 4/10 isn't too bad. Mitchell is going for another fresh set of tires. Yeah, that's definitely the good thing for the drivers on this short layout. Seb Mills improved to a 13.8.
Kubinski being not very sportsmanlike there and just chucking it down the inside. He should have dropped back, I think, and given Seb Mills the space.
Lewis also for a fresh set of tires. Davis now on the line, but not improving. Almost a second down. Bit surprised. Usually this is a time where we see the PBs dropping.
And just Chica not better in his time. I think you're right here. Very weird to see that no one's bettering their times as the two Spirit cars collide with each other side by side.
Oh, Davison now
Sure
purple by
doing.
300.
And Kubinski again in Seb Mills' way.
Let's see if Davison can bring the BMW on pole. Still purple. 700. Looked like a good exit. Missed the apex, but Personal
Ooh,
improvement.
Very close. Very close.
This is really, really difficult to improve your time but still be on the same position.
Oh, Chica betters his time. Still though P6. Even though there's all these gaps here, it's still so hard to tell who's the fastest.
Yes, because
Who's
we
gonna do
haven't
the
seen
best
improvement from Witchell and Kubinski on. I think they have set their best times on higher fuel. Also, strategy-wise, it could be really interesting.
Got Seb Mills as well, topping Tom Holland.
Yes. A bit surprised as Holland had the podium and I think overall the best pace on Interlagos. If he wasn't stuck behind Vandersbeck. Mills improving again. Timer has run up.
There's Seb Mills, almost 3/10 up in his personal best.
Way too wide. Should give him a penalty.
He's using every inch of this racetrack. Wow.
Improved.
Does improve, but
really close to Ashby.
So let's see. So Lucas Wake joined before Ruben Sorreo, so it is going to be Sorreo starting from the very back.
Yes, then Lucas Wake in the Phantom S car. Tom Holland on P8, Seb Mills for Nexus Racing P7. Ashby as the lowest privateer on P6. Van Hart on P5. Best privateer is Lewis on P4. And the top three, Witchell, followed by Davison and Kubinski. Really close, everybody in the qualifying. I think Davison will have the start advantage.
Waiting on Lucas to join now. It's going to adjust the settings so I can actually do it properly. I don't know why I just told him to join if I've got to do that, so brain fart.
Just to check if they're alive. I think it will be also interesting on strategy, because I think Watkins Glen short is a bit easier on tires.
It's not as many corners, but they're very long ones though, aren't they? So
yeah, definitely. But we saw, I think in race 1, Vandersbeck's undercut was not necessary. I think he struggled more in the end than he gained before. But I think in race 2, if you're maybe on a car that is not the best on top speed, can give you an advantage. And we saw it in race 2 Interlagos. What can happen if the field behind you is starting to battling? Because Slimmy Cam wasn't the quickest in the grid, but he kept himself out of every trouble and was 5 seconds ahead of everyone.
finally,
We're gonna have a race, and I hope the drivers stick to the promise they gave us last week with great racing, great battles.
Three lights, 4 lights, 5 lights.
And we're going. Brilliant start from Davison.
Absolutely dropping the rest of the grid. Look at that.
Also Ashby already on P4 inside line.
Up outside with Van Hart. Drops back into the S's. Tyler Davison extended his gap at the front, 7/10 now.
Also Serrao with the Lexus with a good start. Just on P8. Currently overtaking Tom Holland. Both Swifts now at the back of the grid. Yes, Davison already 7/10 ahead.
You just know when the race calms down and Whitchell gets his head down and starts clawing his gap back. Look at that, now down to 6.5 tenths.
Kubinski trying it around the outside against Ashby. Ashby can defend the position. Seb Mills auto in a battle with, I think, yes, that is Aston Lewis. Now attacked Scirocco, who's definitely not the highest speed car. Really close on his rear bumper. He's not going for the move.
No, there's never going to be any space there for a move. He's going to have to wait until that back straight, I think.
Penalty here for Kubinski, 1.5 second cut at the bus stop.
Just going to have to wait another lap for that, I think. Yep.
Serrao dropped down to P10. Davison and Whitchell on the same
Van
pace.
Hart as well, with a
1.5 second penalty. So that should bring Ashby on P3. And gives Davison and Whitchell. Oh, Ashby is wide there.
Oh, very wide. Wow. Was he pushed or did he just run wide?
I just saw him in the rear mirrors of Whitchell going wide.
Very odd.
But if you're going that wide, I think there must have been contact.
Aston Lewis cutting the chicane there.
Contact
and look
between
at that,
him
Seb Mills with a double overtake there, double switchback. Gives Kubinski a taste of his own medicine after last week.
And out of the qualifying. Ashby with a little contact here to Kubinski.
Van Hart sticking to the right.
And Seb Mills is now on P3.
Look at that, struggling in qualifying and now back straight up to P3.
And Lewis, 1 second penalty. Kubinski dropped down to P7. Serrao trying to overtake Tom Holland.
Not sure what's happening with Ruben. I thought he'd be caught up the front by now, but he seems to be stuck at the back with Pine. I think there's a bit of a battle going on and slowing them both down.
Lucas Wake on P10. Davison and Whitchell still separated by only half a second. Then it's already 5 second gap to Seb Mills. Let's see where Aston Lewis will be after the 1.5 second penalty. Van Hart and Ashby passing him. And so Mills is now 2 seconds clear on P3. Well, we're finishing lap 4.
Van
And
Hart just
Lewis
grazing the wall
is
on
the
the exit there.
first one in the pits. Early pits for a front-wheel driven car.
Let's have a look. Chica having a look around the outside. Van Hart runs slightly deep. Ashby gets the better exit, makes the cutback, takes the inside for turn 2, and he's in. Takes the position from him. Takes a big move that.
Let's see if Van Hart can counter in the slipstream. I think he's too far behind.
Let's go back up to the front. Look at that, only 3/10 separating Davison and Witchell. The gap's significantly dropped now. He's going to have the slipstream now going and moving to start finish straight.
Better exit.
He's going to go for the inside or the outside. Let's find out. He goes for the outside. Is he going to make it stick? He's going to try. They still stay side by side. As they head into turn 2 now. Davison on the inside. He's going to have the shorter line, which tries to tuck back into a slipstream. He's going to have a second run down that second straight. At turn 4. I don't think he's going to get the move done around the outside into the chicane. Look at that Witchell being smart pulling out of it. That could have ended in tears.
No way to go side by side to the bus stop. You can do it, but not with both cars staying on track.
Going to do slipstream now. Davison stays to the left. Witchell makes a dummy, can't make it stick. Davison stays around the outside, stays on P1 for another lap.
They're absolutely on the same level. Maybe Witchell currently slightly quicker.
He's going to have a look on the inside. No, he's not. He's not going to make the move. And he's waiting, just piling the pressure onto Davison, who runs slightly wide. The TP though just doesn't seem to be as fast in a straight line. I'm sure he may have the slipstream here, but as soon as he pulls out, I don't think he's going to get alongside him.
BMW also really good at top speed. And he's not even using the 7th gear. So, Seb Mills, great pace, really consistent. 2.5 seconds ahead of Ashby, followed by Van Hart, Sereo on P6, Holland on P7 with a penalty. Lucas Wake on P8. Lewis, who already pitted on P9, and I think Kubinski pitted as well, yes.
Which one has a look into turn 1?
Now, side by side on the straight.
Look that he's ahead now, but is Davison going to be able to go back around him? Which was going to make that TT as wide as he can. Telling Davison he's got to go the long way around if he wants that position. He's getting closer, he's getting closer. Is he going to have a look into the chicane? He's not. Great respect between these two. Very rare to see in touring car racing, but...
Definitely know what they're doing. And really interesting, while they are fighting, they are still gaining.
I think they're just pulling each other along, aren't they, in slipstream? I think Witchell's going into the pits. He is.
Davison stays out.
Is he going to make the undercut work?
Ashby now going to the pits as well.
You see the undercuts worked for Seb Lewis. Well, not Seb Lewis, Aston Lewis. I don't know why I said that. But he's on a personal best heading into the final sector.
I think we can compare it with Ashby. I think both of them were pretty close on track together. Ashby's now exiting the pits, and Lewis is ahead of him.
Gabinski as well in the mix now after his undercut. Probably just getting round cheek of that.
Fresh material.
Davison's going to have to be very careful on this pit entry. Let's find out if he does. Oh, very close to that.
Van Hart pitted a bit too long. He lost the position against Serrao. It has way too much fuel on board. Davison now in the pits.
Oh wow, that's just going to slow him down even more, isn't it?
Which is now going to the final corner combination. Davison.
I don't think Davison had to take tyres. The one benefit about the rear-wheel drives, they don't burn through their fronts like the Audi TT does. Look at that, almost 10 seconds. Well, yeah.
Compared to higher aero GR3s, where you can with almost gone tires still set personal bests, the GR4s, you really note the tire drop. We saw it on Van der Spek cars last week in both races. So Lewis now 1.7 seconds ahead of Mills.
It's Gabinski now catching up to Seb Mills. Going through the chicane.
These two guys really like each other. Always pretty close in the qualifying.
How's a look? Doesn't have to be asked twice. He puts a foot in the door and Seb Mills just says no. Shuts the door in his face. Okay, that stays in P4.
This can help Aston Lewis to keep his P3, and also Ashby might benefit from this battle.
He's being pushed right up to the pit wall there.
Better line.
Starts to across side. And Gabinski takes space.
Overtake. Well done. Serrao on a penalty. Holland undercutted him.
Just going to have a look around the outside. Gets them moved on well before the bus stop.
So most of the guys changed their tires. Just a few like Davison and Holland stayed on the old rubber.
I think Aston Lewis now he's going to drop back after that undercut though. Look at his tyres compared to Gabinski behind him and Seb Mills.
Yes. I think for Davison it can work. He's still 7.5 seconds clear.
I don't think even Jake Witchell's not going to make that gap up in 3.5 laps. Oh, look at that. Gabinski. Oh, big accident there. Gabinski effectively pit manoeuvred into the wall. Oh, Serrao narrowly avoiding him. Big accident there.
Really unlucky.
Looks as though Aston Lewis tried to squeeze him into the inside and just pit manoeuvred him.
Brings Seb Mills back on P3. Lewis has to burn a penalty. I think P1 and P2 are sorted. as Davison is still not losing time to Witchell.
I think Aston Lewis is then slowing down and waiting for Kabinski there. Looked as though he's going quite slow through that middle sector, but
penalty.
Soraya in Holland as well. Another cutback move. A lot of overtakes seems to be taking place into turn 1. Probably the most heavy braking zone on the circuit.
Penalty here for Van Aert. And Ashby is really close to Seb Mills.
It's going to be quite interesting to see how the Genesis puts up a fight against the Lexus. Both big displacement front engine rear wheel drive cars.
The Lexus should have slightly more top speed, but the lighter Hyundai has the advantage in the corners, and you can clearly see it. But who knows? If Ashby gets a really good exit out of turn 1 with a good slipstream, he might be able to make a move. It's not close enough.
Just gaining though, going up the hill through the S's. So no sticking right to the far side of the circuit, cuts back across just before the braking zone.
Solid bus stop from both. Silvia under pressure from Van Aert. Kabinski on P8. Holland on the worn tires. Not able to keep contact. Davison now on the final lap.
Personal best from Seb Mills. I think he's going to be dropping Ashby now. Back to this time last week though. FR Racing car in the lead by a fair margin.
Well, don't jinx it.
Commentator's curse. Let's hope not.
But I think it was in the penultimate lap, not in the final lap.
You know what though, fair play to Davison. Never met him before until today. Turns up very last minute entry after Ridwan Hamza kicks up a fuss and doesn't turn up. But you know what? 6.5 second gap to Jake Witchell. That's fair play to him. Comes out the final corner.
Davison showed in the 3-hour Road Atlanta that he's definitely a quick guy. Yes. And debut victory for Tyler Davison.
Jake Witchell solid P2.
Seb Mills first podium for Nexus Racing.
Fending off very fast Ashby.
Followed by Ashby, who should take the lead now in the privateers.
Aston Lewis is going to be taking quite a chunky penalty, I think, for that accident with Kabinski in the S's. P9 for Holland and Lucas Wake going very quiet for him this race.
Yes, the Swift seems to struggle a bit on this track. Just don't spin over the line. Thank you.
Good behaviour from all for once. See if that replay, but very, very solid first race.
Yes,
Watkins,
definitely.
Glen.
Again, good battles.
Looks like Jake Witchell might be making a few strategy changes in in this next race. See if he can close that gap up to Davison. Might be a bit easier to fend him off than to keep him catch up to him.
So the second Nexus car arrived with Rick Debris. Also a really quick guy. So yeah, front row lockout for Suzuki, I would say, for the second race.
Let's have a look. Alright, let's set this grid then.
Quickly back to Davison.
Okay, right, there we go. So we have Lucas Wake for Phantom S starting our pole position alongside Tom Holland in the privateer Suzuki Swift. On the second row of the grid, we've got Dominik Kubinski in the TT and Van Hart in the Hyundai Genesis. On the third row of the grid, we've got Ruben Serrao alongside Aston Lewis in the Lexus and VW respectively, and we've got Ashby and Mills on the next row, Joke Witchell and Harley Davidson, and then Rick Debris following up the bottom of the pack.
It will be interesting to see how these guys who really dominated this race, I think the gap between Davison and Witchell was only because they're not tire changing.
So Mills, they're saying he's very happy with his podium on debut in the Discord. Good to see.
Yes, it wasn't looking like in the qualifying.
He was struggling at the back, if I recall correctly. I'll leave it a couple more minutes while we wait for everyone to fill up. I'll just get a few more laps under their belt. Rick Debris, they raced last season at the Nürburgring for Team Spirit. Did a very solid pair of races there. I think got a podium as well.
And also won his stint in the 3-hour off-road Atlanta against Hamza.
Yes. And the very, very memorable pink Nissan GTR. Bing Schilling Racing.
Horrible livery. So pink can actually look good because I like the Team Spirit car. But
it's a very nice looking car.
If you combine pink with white,
it doesn't work too well, does it?
No, not really. This is not the biggest contrast. And it was also really plain, but whatever floats your boat. There are guys who love to race manga liveries. And if they are fine with it.
Alright,
I
let's
think
get the show on the road then.
with the starting position, Kubinski can be one guy who might have an eye on the victory if he can stay out of trouble this time. So far, Seb
Ruben
Mills.
Sorreo as well. He's quite up there, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Depends on how good he feels on the track. I know we saw it on Ashby. The Lexus is a bit too heavy to feel comfortable in the bus stop, but for the rest of the track it's still fine.
There we go, race 2 underway. Lucas Wake leads the pack. Tom Holland got straight into a slipstream, and look at that. Van Hart already going past Kubinski into turn 1.
Kubinski had the better line, and now Van Hart is under pressure from Serreo. Now side by side, Serreo with the inside line for the bus stop.
He's got the advantage. He's
Also three-way battle between Ashby, Lewis and Mills.
Mr. Lewis again tries to hold it around the outside. Contact.
Contact. Ashby, great catch of the car. Penalty for Lewis. And it's Witchell who's now entering this group.
It's a big gaggle of cars, which will trying to make his way through it like a knife through butter. Ashby has a look, gets cut off by Lewis there. Rick Debris having a look at the outside into turn 1. Isn't going to work. Back up at the front though, Tom Holland in the lead with quite a substantial margin to go behind. Kubinski with a 2-second penalty in P2. That's going to drop him down quite considerably. Maybe back into that, probably into that rear gaggle of cars.
Somewhere in the direction of Aston Lewis, maybe.
Van Hart and Lucas Wake there, going side by side through the chicane, make it work, but slows both down.
Nice switchback here from Ashby against Witchell. And also Mills attacking Witchell.
Very narrow there.
Lewis dropped back. Contact between the Team Spirit cars. Kubinski now side by side with Witchell.
Have a look. Witchell pulls out of it. He knows there's more opportunities further down the line.
Early stop here for Davison.
Quite an odd one. I think he knows his tyres are going to last, so he's going to go the whole
Definitely.
distance while everyone's still packed up. Ruben Sorreo as well up into P2. So lap 3 now, Van Hart followed by Ashby, followed by Lucas Wake and Seb Mills side by side through the chicane. Lucas Wake having to bounce off his car and cut.
Mills went wide. Might give him a penalty.
Rick Debris. Double move there. Kubinski though, back on the inside, takes the position back. But Ruben Sorreo up into the lead now. Tom Holland, I believe, with a penalty there that we might not have caught.
Yeah. The gap is way too big for a mistake. Tom Holland touching the barrier. Also Van Hart, who now lost enough momentum to give Ashby the easy pass, but contact here between Van Hart and Ashby. Van Hart pushed Ashby
Side
wide.
swipes in Van Hart, not giving that position back. Now Chica getting the half-second penalty. I think that's quite unfair, actually. I think he's really going to go for it now. He doesn't see that as a Hyundai Genesis, he sees that as a target. Is he going to go for the move on the inside, or is he just going to slam into the side of him? Let's find out. Van Hart bottles it, goes straight over the bus stop.
Oh, and resets on track. Brings Witcher already in P3.
Half second for Ashby then. 15 by the two Spirit cars into the second to last corner. They'll just need to help each other out. It's only making life easier for Ruben Serrao out in front by 2.5 seconds. Setting a personal fastest time of 13.5.
There is a BMW at the end of the grid.
That is true. Tyler Davison with a very, very, very early stop.
Let's see what his first flying lap will be. Yeah, immediately fastest lap, 1:12.7. That's just what he has to do to gain as many positions on this massive undercut.
He ran the outside into the bus stop. Tom Holland pulling out of it.
Oh, someone went wide. I think it was just Lucas Wake.
Oh, into the wall there on the exit.
And a penalty, but also Van Hart on a penalty. But he should overtake him as Wake has a 1 second penalty and Van Hart just is the half-second penalty. But Davison now with a half-second penalty.
Oh, contact there. A final corner, Ashby going into the pits, Rick Debris trying to avoid him and just has to go the long way round. Tom Holland caught out, pushed wide there.
That's one of the risks of this pit entries here at Watkins Glen.
He's got to do it all over again now, Tom Holland. 2 tenths behind him. He's going to have the slipstream move down the back straight.
I don't think the Swift is quick enough.
No.
It's already losing in slipstream.
He
has to care
the way into that
more about Seb Mills.
He's going to run it slightly wide, but then is he going to cut back in, get the better exit? He does. Is he going to try the same move again? Stick to the right after this left-hander and throw it down the inside. Rick Debris covers him off. Bit of contact there. Tom Holland goes for the move. More contact. Rick Debris had to back out of it, otherwise he'd be going straight into the wall.
Mills in the pits and Tom Holland on P4. And Witchell already caught up to Serrao in the front. Only 7 tenths between them.
Fastest lap of a 12.6. That is a quick time.
Serrao's fastest is a 13.2, so half a second between the fastest laps. So we had Lewis, Ashby, Davison in the pits. And you see Davison already 8 seconds ahead of the other guys who pitted.
As we're getting into that pit window, I think maybe Serrao might be going in this lap. Let's find out. He does, he indicates he's staying in. Jake Witchell very, very late there. Might get a 3 second for that.
And also Kubinski in the pits, and if I saw it right, he was definitely over the line.
Let's see where this puts Tyler Davison as he comes around the final corner.
It's already on the straight.
Times. 13.1.
So Sereo, which are now leaving the pits.
Again, a bit squirrely on the curb on the exit there. Jake Witcher with a 3-second penalty. He's bottled it. I knew he'd cut that line. Now, just to make that as well as Tyler Davison.
Kubinski,
Gonna swoop round the
no
outside
penalty,
again.
and Davison now.
Davison has a look round the outside of Ruben Sereo. Is he going to back out of it? Yes, he does.
So we can consider that the no tire change undercut worked for the BMW, and now Witcher will drop massively. It must be so annoying, be close in this fight and then just being slowed down for 3 seconds. Tom Holland now in the pits.
He's going to drop back considerably, maybe P5, P6 perhaps.
Davison has the inside line. Made the move against Sereo.
Sereo does have that straight line speed as they go up the hill. He's gaining on him, he's gaining on him. Davison makes him go the long way round, squeezes him to the left. Sereo's going to have to back out of it.
If Sereo can keep his rear and follow him, it might get so interesting in the end, when even Tyler Davidson will realize that his tires might be a bit worn. So Holland, after his pit stop on P4, under pressure from Kubinski, who will pick up another penalty.
Understeers into the wall there. A very quiet race from Aston Lewis, hasn't it, down in P7.
Which also stayed on the same tires. And really low on fuel compared to the others. Debris on P8, Seb Mills on P9.
Ooh. Davison running slightly wide there through the second half of that bus stop.
But with 5 laps to go, he still seems to be a bit quicker than Sereo on his rear. Tires are the same level, so maybe even Sereo hasn't changed. Witcher's times are now dropping on the worn tires. Holland with the penalty. Kubinski with a 1:19 on his last lap.
Must have been involved in some sort of accident. Rick Debris is very far behind now.
Yes, he lost a lot. He was in front of Seb Mills.
Perhaps some contact between the two Nexus cars.
So 12 seconds is definitely something you don't lose on a penalty. And Tyler Davison is now slowly getting Sereo out of slipstream range.
I think perhaps if Sereo had taken tyres, it would have cost him a few seconds in the short term, but in the long run he would have a little bit of an edge over Davison into these last few laps.
tire change costs about 5 seconds. We saw it between Mitchell and Davison in the first race. I think Watkins Glen Short is a track where you can do it. There are other tracks like Interlagos or Fuji in the calendar where you definitely should take fresh rubber.
Back down, further down the grid, Aston Lewis and Kubinski going side by side. Kubinski goes around the outside of him into the chicane.
And Lewis went
Aston
wide.
Lewis again loses it through the chicane, just like he did in qualifying. And Seb Mills almost runs into the back of him.
Good reaction. And P7 for the Nexus driver. Tyler Davison now 2 seconds ahead. Sereo is not able to keep the pace.
Those top 3 positions are done and dusted. The gaps aren't getting any smaller, they're only getting bigger
again on a
between
penalty.
1 and 2. Nothing to really look out for now is P4 and 5, I reckon, between Tom Holland and Ashby.
So Holland with old tyres. Ashby with, I would say, the better car on this track and fresher material. Could be also the battle for the lead in the privateers.
That is true. The second class, the Tom Carnell Trophy. Gap only 6/10 now between the two as they head through the final sector.
This is also actually the only sort of battle we currently have on track. Yes, sorry, you're now 5 seconds clear to Witchell. Davison 3 seconds clear. Davison definitely looking for the Driver of the Day award.
Definitely. Well, with a 1.5 second penalty though.
For Kubinski. And Mills is only 2.5 seconds behind.
But we'll look at P1. Another 1.5 second penalty for Davison. Don't know whether he's gone completely over the track limits or what, but he's going to lose in some time, perhaps in confidence as well, to Ruben Serrao behind.
And we definitely have to watch Witchell's fuel.
But there's now P1 and 2 are now very, very close.
You lose so much on a penalty. So now it is absolutely necessary for Davison to keep the car in the track limits.
They're both very, very, very far left on that first corner, pushing the track limits. 6/10 between the two. So they head up the hill now for the final time tonight.
Let's see how they will make it to the carousel for the final time.
Davison again trying to break the slipstream.
Both stayed in the limits.
Very smooth inputs from Davison, just gliding the car through the corners, where Serrao almost wrestles them through. Chucking them in.
Oh, Davison wide, and this is a penalty. And even if this should just give half a second penalty, yes, there it is.
Half a second penalty, goes down to the final corner. Is Serrao going to get him on the track? It's very close, but regardless, Serrao gets the win on the final lap.
Serrao with the penalty.
Again, I called this in the first race. Last lap.
Witchell is protecting P3, Holland P4, Ashby following in the top 5, Kubinski, good recovery back to P6, Seb Mills, P7 in the first Nexus car, Aston Lewis. I don't think he will be happy with this race result on P8. Van Hart on P9, Rick Debris on P10, and Lucas Wake will finish on P11.
It was a very quiet race towards the end, wasn't it? But at that last half a lap,
yeah, it looked like everything is sorted, and then one mistake with the penalty.
Ruben Soraya with his second win of the season. Goes to show that being the quickest on over a single lap isn't going to give you the win for definite, but you've got to be smart. For his best lap, 4/10 slower than Davison, but he had that advantage.
Yeah, this is what you see. What I think ruined several people's race: the penalties. They're really easy to pick up here. We saw Witchell with the pit lane penalty, what immediately dropped him out of the slipstream range from the top 2. Then on the worn tires, he wasn't able to stay behind them.
I think Chica as well picked up a penalty in that last lap. I did catch quite a very brief glimpse. But Tom Holland keeps that P4 and spices things up a little bit in the Privateer Trophy as well.
In the drivers, Soraya should stay in front.
Or perhaps maybe Tom Holland second, maybe Ashby third. Kubinski might be up in the mix as well.
So we can consider the Privateers again really good performance. And yeah, why not taking both trophies? Drivers' Championship and the Tom Coronel Trophy.
Exactly. But yeah, very, very interesting one, that one, I thought. I think race 1 was the more interesting one of the two. But
Definitely.
For on-track action especially, but I think in general, it's a close one. I think it's a one to remember for sure. Maybe Tyler Davison will come back next week. Maybe he might take a privateer spot for the rest of the season, who knows?
Would be definitely something that can be interesting for the grid. And this we see 11 cars tonight. There's definitely room for more privateers.
Definitely. If people are going to sign up for a series and not turn up, then there you go.
It's kind of a bit stupid to complain about privateers and not getting a spot with your team and then don't show up yourself.
Exactly. But anyway, I think that's something for viewers to mull over. I think we'll leave it there for now.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching.
There's a lot of chat popping up. Let's see who's writing. Witchell and Soraya having a nice conversation. Yeah, Witchell had to save fuel. He was on fuel mode 6 in the end. That's what I thought when he came back on track with just 18 liters of fuel.
Yeah, it wasn't going to happen, was it?
But yeah, if you're in the pits, your finger is always on the X button to stop the refueling. And sometimes it's a bit too fast. I mean, we saw guys completely skipping the fuel in the past. But yeah, interesting. Next week we're gonna have 3 races. As the
3 races, yes. We've got the 2 at Road Atlanta.
regular
We're
ones.
going back for the final race of Interlagos. Effectively round 1, race 2. But...
Yeah, your opinion, drive of the day? I told my
Oh,
opinion.
driver of the day.
P1 and 2. Well, this is...
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Tyler Davison, for sure. Come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Takes the victory. Jake Witchell was very quick today, but just didn't have the race car we normally see him with. Messing up his strategy in that that second race especially. And that mistake in race 1 without taking taking any tyres or fuel. Well,
Yes.
taking tyres. So, how about you? What do you think?
Definitely Davison. If you jump in a league, I don't know how practice he's on the BMW M4, but I know you know how difficult the BMW M4 can be, and it's not really easy to be quick on this car, and he definitely managed it. Move of the day in my eyes is a double overtake from Sepp Mills. Of course, he benefited by the battle of the 2, but you need to have the balls to go straight through it and say, okay, let's go, my place.
Just absolutely go for it and lick the stump and send it, as they say.
I think, and the Team Championship should get a lot closer, as we had last week, even if just 1 race, the P1 and 2 for Helix Racing, and followed by 3 privateers, and 3 or 4 teams just in with 1 car. I think only Phantom S was the second team with both cars in, and now Helix missed 1 car, and both Team Spirit cars scored solid points. So they
may well be even
bit.
Nexus as well. I mean, they may have had a slightly disappointing
open ace,
open round, but you know they've had 2 cars, both
just
3 races that we've counted towards the championship.
Just in 2 races both. I think
of course, Rick
Debris was missing
yes.
race 1, but
No
still
mistake, yes.
podium. They will definitely. Think they will jump Phantom S, who were today just with 1 car in.
It's a shame. I'm not sure where Tom Lipscomb was. He definitely one that showed great improvement in the first round. So
yeah,
shame
definitely
to not see him today.
So
I think we should leave it here.
Definitely.
I've got literally every single driver's left, so
yes.
We'll go
maybe your
incidents
inbox is full with report stuff.
Oh, I cannot wait. This is my favourite part of the week. Everyone complain about each other.
So from what I saw, of course there were moves with pushing a bit wide, and but I think most of the guys managed it pretty well tonight. I think the bus stop had way more carnage potential that we have seen tonight.
Yeah, I think people were very smart into that bus stop. I think it was more turn 1 and the last turn that caused the most issues. I mean, we did see that huge accident between Kabinski and Lewis into turn 2.
Yes, definitely.
Lewis maybe going across, trying to squeeze him, catching the rear bumper of Kabinski and just spinning him around on the grass. I don't know. I'll have to look it over, but
we're gonna see. Maybe these guys, even some of the incidents can be sorted in private. Exactly. But yeah, I think we see you same time, same day next week.
Same time next week, definitely.
With a quick travel from Northern America to Brazil in the end. only working in esports. So yeah, everyone, good night, and we'll see you next week.